put down the computer, tell your friends you have to go. It's time to eat. Yes.
And the home of the brave.
Game on!
Welcome to episode 35 of the Hit the Deck podcast, where we talk deck hockey, street hockey, ball hockey. It's hockey in sneakers. And do we ever have a fun treat for you guys for the 35th episode? We got something special on tap. Let me tell you, or let James tell you if he's so inclined. James, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you, sir?
I should not complain. I can complain, because can't we all? But I shouldn't, so I shan't.
Very nice. That's an excellent attitude to have, and I hope more people follow you on that.
Thank you. How have you been since last we spoke? Or at least since last we spoke to our listeners?
Right, yeah, good point. I'm really happy that we played back-to-back weekends of deck hockey, so doing pretty well and refreshed and got the rust out of my stinking system, so I hope, and really charged up for that and looking forward to playing some more as long as the weather holds up, please.
You know how I just said that I won't complain about anything? Apparently I lied, because I've lost 5 games in a row, and I'm not real happy about that. So I need to find my groove, man.
Well, you're way too humble to take that on yourself, but I have to be honest with you, man. I mean, I've dragged you down with me, and there's at least two games that I single-handedly lost on my own, and unfortunately, you were on my team. So I apologize for that. Speaking of the rust and being outplayed, so hopefully I do need to redeem myself, so sorry, sir.
I disagree with you, but I don't want to get the podcast bogged down, so we're going to agree to disagree on this one.
All right.
We do have a lot to cover tonight, so do you want to just get started?
Let's do it.
All right, then let's jump right into our starting lineup. And for tonight's starting lineup, in goal, I am still your American Rhino, number 35, Gary McComiskey, and of course, my co-host.
On defense, number 4, I'm James Sajazi, and we have 2 very special guests tonight.
Robert Meehan, number 73, winger for Top Shelf.
Jason Shire, number 24, winger for Top Shelf.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
You're welcome. Nice to talk to you.
Pleasure.
All right. Thank you, guys. We will talk to you momentarily, so please stick around and, feel free to enjoy the banter. As far as everybody else is concerned, James, if you don't mind, if you will indulge me, I would like to address our listeners for just a couple of minutes. So I guess here goes. Anybody who's a longtime listener of this podcast, and if you're a new listener, welcome. We're glad to have you. But if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you know that we are not political. We try and be as apolitical as possible on this show, and I, by and large, want to continue that, but I do feel like there's a lot of angry and disappointed and just unhappy people in the country right now in the last couple weeks. More than half, if the votes are any indication, and who knows how representative that is of the country as a whole. But I just want to I don't want to bring you down, but I do want to, like I said, take a minute to address you, the listener. Whether you're somebody who is among those unhappy many, or whether you're somebody who is satisfied or even happy with the result of the election. And yes, of course, I am talking about the recent presidential election. I want to remind you that we're all Americans. And if you're not an American and you're listening to our show, again, we're glad to have you. You might want to jump ahead a couple minutes unless you want a glimpse into our national mentality, in which case feel free to stick around, but this isn't necessarily directed at you. But yeah, so regardless of who you voted for and regardless of what you think of what is to come in the next 4 years, I want to just, we're all Americans. We live in this country, and a great many of us, and hopefully the majority of us, love this country. And regardless of who the president is, it doesn't change the person you are now, the person you were 2 weeks ago, and the person you'll be tomorrow. We still have a responsibility to support each other, regardless of which side of the political spectrum you fall on. I think we all have a duty to make this the best country we can. I think we have a duty to support each other more than anything, and it's easy to lose sight of that. Whether you're really unhappy or whether you're gloating or somewhere in the middle, it's easy to kind of lose sight of what's important because the political climate is so divisive. It's easy to put things in the abstract, and it's easy to think of other people as just other people and not people. Just, it's easy to think of people as them. But at the end of the day, regardless of where on the political spectrum you fall, you're still a person. You're still a friend or a neighbor or even just a citizen. So I'm not going to say it doesn't matter who won, because of course it matters. But don't let the result of an election define your life. Don't let it define you. Be the best you can be the best American you can be, and just try to do the right thing. Again, we end every podcast by saying don't be that guy, and yeah, it's kind of funny, and sometimes it's tongue in cheek, but don't be a negative. Don't bring. We all want, I think at the end of the day, we all want what's best for this country, and we all want what's best for ourselves. And I think don't, be part of the solution. Don't be part of the problem. Just be the best person that you can be. Just try and do right. Just try and do the right thing. That's all. It doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter who the other guy voted for. Just try and do the right thing, and everything will work itself out. And to quote a couple of pop culture figures from the 90s, that's all I got to say about that. So sorry to kind of hijack the podcast for a few minutes, but I wanted to just kind of get that off my chest. All right, enough of that. I think we need to pick me up, and I think we need to get back on track. So, James, if you would be so kind and would not mind, please, would you please tell us what is on deck for this podcast?
All right, let's do it. MOFO Interview Part 1. The American Rhino and I have both talked up and recommended the Great DEK Hockey League MOFO in Lower Manhattan. Now, to paraphrase Mr. LeVar Burton, you don't have to take our words for it, because as you heard before, Jason and Rob are here from MOFO to tell you themselves. Black Friday. Thanksgiving is about family and overeating, not wasting time online at some big chain store only to risk your life for inferior products they're trying to get rid of anyway. The American Rhino and I have much better suggestions on how to spend the day after Thanksgiving. And it's Hit the Deck number 35. This one's for the American Rhino. Had to pull a fast one on Mr. Gary Mack to sneak this topic in because if he knew about it, he would have stonewalled it like an attempted penalty shot. I'll pay the consequences later, but for now, let's lavish our own beloved American Rhino with much-deserved praise and good wishes. And we will hear from the American Rhino with a new segment as well. So let's do this thing.
There will indeed be consequences to be paid, but not this day, because we don't want to keep our guests waiting any longer. So without further ado, let's jump into our interview with the MOFO guys.
So yeah, very big welcome to Jason and Rob from the DEK Hockey League MOFO, their team being top shelf. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
absolutely
our
welcome.
sincere pleasure.
Very much, very much. So, gentlemen, thank you again for joining us tonight. And for our listeners, if you guys wouldn't mind, Jason or Robert, whichever one of you wants to take this first, if you would just give a quick rundown of what MOFO is and specifically what differentiates your great DEK Hockey League from others.
All right, yeah, I'll start. Yeah, so MOFO, it's basically it's a two-division league. Let's say an A division and a B division. A being the let's say the super competitive level, and B being a little bit more laid back. And yeah, I think what makes it most awesome is so if you play in Zog, like we've done that. If you play in a gym, there's no boards or whatever. So the rink itself is pretty great because, you're running and it's street hockey. I'm a huge fan of obviously watching ice hockey. I feel that the way you would play ice hockey in terms of, let's say, short passes, using the boards, whatever, defending is all quite similar, which for me, it's quite exciting to try to play the game right positionally so I can watch regular hockey and watch the Rangers or whatever and try to emulate that. And for me, the biggest thing, honestly, though, is what makes it special for me is I've been this team now. I don't know if me and Rob started together, maybe was it 5 years now, Rob? Being able to be in a team regularly and supporting each other and having everything be super positive, and you win together, you lose together, you drink beers together afterwards. That's really cool. I never really had that experience growing up. I'm certainly not the best player in the team by a long shot, but yeah, that kind of team vibe is, for me, that's what makes it so special, along with the way the game is played. That was long-winded. I'm sorry.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, please.
I think too that one of the things that I found that was different, having played in a couple of other leagues prior to here, was that you have two USA Hockey trained officials officiating the game. A lot of other leagues, it may just be other players who are volunteering to ref that game, or just some random person that the league pays, maybe doesn't have actual hockey training, but it's sort of a hockey fan, or may just be wanting to just make a couple extra bucks.
Sure.
Here they actually have some good referees and a scorekeeper for each game.
Wow, that's really cool.
Keep track of stats and everything, which is really kind of a nice thing that we don't see from my experience in playing in some of the other leagues. And more on what Jason was saying as well, is that the interesting thing about the league is that there are so many different people playing in the league, but we also have fathers and sons on the same team, boyfriend, girlfriends, husbands, wives. Even though it's not co-ed league where every team has to be co-ed, the great thing is that we do have female players playing on teams and being competitive and having just as much fun as teams with all guys. And I always thought that was really cool to have that happening in this league as well.
Excellent. Yeah. Again, that was our experience too when Gary and I joined the Rose Charities division. Is right. We were very impressed by the play and the camaraderie, and everybody accepted us wholeheartedly. We felt like a team real quick, and everybody knew how to play well, or at least participate. And yeah, the girls were just as good as the guys. I could definitely vouch for that, which I learned my lesson the hard way, let's just say. Right. But so yeah, just as Gary mentioned before, the rink is located in Lower Manhattan for people listening out there. It is basically tucked between the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge, and it's a really very cool location, by the way, and it's a great rink at that. So if anybody out there is interested, Jason and Rob will let you know how to contact MOFO for more information. For our second question, does MOFO stand for anything in particular, or is it just a take on the late Reverend Maffa's name, the priest or reverend who started the league?
Well, I think that's pretty much it's just a fun, playful, and this was my understanding because it's somewhat anecdotal, is that it is just that sort of playful thing, and that he was such an important part of the community and such an integral part of, making things happen down there and making good things happen for the community with hockey and everything. That, yeah, it was sort of an homage, but not a direct copy of his name per se. But it's also a little bit of a playful take just on the league in general and how it's kind of a fun, high-spirited endeavor.
Cool.
Actually, let me kind of expand on that just a little bit, if you don't mind. As James mentioned, that you play in Lower Manhattan. I know there's a couple of DEK hockey leagues in Lower Manhattan. So what makes MOFO different from the other leagues around? Like, say, do you have any special rules or any kind of unique requirements in your league?
Well, I mean, you just have to be over 18 years of age. It's an adults league. There are other events that are more geared for youth hockey, which the founder, with Bob Weissenberg, he started MOFO back in 2008. He's also very involved with youth hockey, which is also coordinated with the New York Rangers and making hockey happen in New York for kids. I know a lot of that goes on down there as well. But, we're not just a pickup league. I mean, at the rink, they have a lot of other leagues, which is just a friendly group of people. Like I play in the Saturday morning one. There's no referees. There's no really offsides, no icing. Nobody calls penalties and sits in the penalty box. This is a very, very organized, very structured league where it can get really competitive, but at the same time, it's really organized, officiated. Like I said, the scorekeeping, the stats. I think that really goes above and beyond what a lot of other leagues will do. And we pay for it. We're not the cheapest league in the city either, but we do get a lot of benefits from it.
It sounds to me like it's something where you put more of a premium on just going out and having fun, and you don't get bogged down in the minutia of the rule book. Which, not to say that it's like the Wild West, but the way you describe it seems more of a let 'em play mentality, which sounds really appealing.
Yes and no. I would actually say one thing that I think it definitely, because of its structure and I think because of the boards, it does lend itself to a certain level of competitiveness. This definitely, like, I know when I do this versus when I did Zog, winning in this is, for whatever reason, it's definitely more important to me. But yeah, I like that it's professionally run though. Like Rob was saying, like the referees really are like, they do a good job because it's definitely, you feel like they got your back or whatever. If something gets, let's say somebody gets too aggressive, they're going to call a penalty or whatever. And did I answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of this too, is that, again, the few times that Gary and I participated in the MOFO or MOFO league, is that it's not intimidating. If you're a hockey fan out there and if you're not able to roller skate or ice skate, you can show up or come with a team or whatever the case is, and you're going to have a lot of fun. And I really think that's a huge key, which is a great point that you guys brought up, is that the referees really make or break a good league. And that's a great point where Gary and I have participated in other DEK hockey tournaments and leagues where, just like you guys said, that it's maybe a fan or somebody who isn't trained or doesn't know the rules or whatever the case is, or more or less isn't in control. And that's when things get a bit hairy and it's not much fun and not as structured. So that's one of the other many benefits of MOFO or MOFO. Jason and I did talk about before offhand how to pronounce the league properly. So it depends on where you're from or whatever the case is. So I apologize.
It's potato. It's not really.
MOFO.
So apologies if I'm not consistent with that. But
no, it's good. It's very accepting, like you guys said. Like, listen, like I said, I'm so far from the best player on my team or whatever, and it's from day one I was accepted, and everything's very supportive and upbeat, and that's, for me, is way cool. That's a great vibe.
Absolutely, I totally agree. So, as you guys were saying, Jason and Rob, that you've been teammates for 5 years. Just out of curiosity, do you know how long the league has been around for itself?
It was founded in 2008.
Oh, okay.
That was when it started. Yeah, there was not nearly as many teams back then, but because of the the active involvement of everyone who's joined the league and sort of spreading the word, plus also with Bob and Hector's help, promoting the league from their perspective and the way they've been doing things. They've added teams and created an even bigger league to the point where we're going to need more days of the week.
That's great.
Is there much...
a longer weekend, basically, in order to accommodate the games and number of teams and such. So it's just don't have enough rink time.
Is there turnover? Is there turnover from the teams that participate, or is it pretty much everybody sticks around and more teams just get added?
Pretty much everyone's stuck around, and we've just added a few more teams here and there, or we've had, maybe one team might split off and have a few people join another team, but then we have another new team join that year anyway. So it's generally fun. Once people come into the league, they stay in the league.
Sure. Even
if they might not be able to stay and keep like an entire free agent team, like a new free agent team together for multiple seasons, we will have a lot of those people still stay and just sort of splinter off and add on to other people's rosters.
Okay, cool.
And like you guys mentioned before, that there are two divisions, an A and a B division, which is, again, depending on if you're looking to join, whatever you're more comfortable with playing in. Now, there's currently 6 teams in one division and 7 in the other. And like you guys were saying, with teams that usually stick around and come back, is that the usual amount of teams and divisions playing in each season?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, we've had anywhere from 10 to 14 teams the last few years. This is sort of reaching the peak. We have one team last year in the B division, that the Devils, they won, and they moved up to try out the A division to test
test the waters.
They're test the waters up there and their skills up there, and they've done well. They won an opening round playoff game, and so I know they're doing well up there. We have another new team that joined of free agents in the B division, and they've done exceptionally well as well. They're playing in the finals this weekend, and who knows, maybe they may end up wanting to check out the A division. We've had an A division team that sat out a season and came back and wanted to play in the B division this season.
Okay.
This is who we lost to.
That's who we lost. But they're all really, good players. They played together since the inaugural season. They were a team that was around in one of the 2008 champs that won it for like 5 years in a row until the Whalers came along and dethroned them, and then they won it for a bunch of years in a row too. So as A division champs. So,
okay.
Yeah, definitely lots of high skilled players in the league, but also a welcoming environment for everyone who's not necessarily the top echelon of player.
Excellent. In that vein, how many players are on a roster roughly? Is there a minimum and a maximum amount of players?
For the roster, the league only just requires that you show up with at least 5 people and a goalie for every game.
All right.
In the summer, you might want to show up with a few more because it can get pretty hot out there.
Yes, it can.
The maximum number of people they want you to show up to a game with would be 18, just for capacity on the bench and just being realistic. But as far as the roster goes, this season we had 23, 24 guys on our roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But only had maybe 10 people show up per game, just because of people have kids and family obligations and can't make it every week, so it might be a different sort of group, even though we had a number of people who were kind of the core guys who made probably 16 out of 20 games type guys.
Gotcha.
And other guys who made 5 out of 20. But when the playoffs came, we had a great turnout from everybody.
Sure, I'd imagine.
And, had a lot of fun. So whether we have 5 or 15, we have a good time. It just depends on how tired we are after it.
Right. Yeah. I would say, though, 5 and 100 degrees is, while it's a heck of a workout, it's maybe less fun to play with that few people.
Sure.
So, not everybody in the league's 20 years old. So.
Yeah, Gary and I could definitely relate to that too. But that's one of the things of deck hockey is, okay, fine, maybe we're not NHLers, but we have to deal with the heat and the elements too. So that kind of evens things out a little bit.
If this was on a basketball court, it might be a little easier to deal with. But given the size of the rink and it's almost at regulation, ice rink size, it's expansive, and there's a lot of room to cover when you're running. There's no coasting like on ice.
Right.
Or on rollerblades.
No church.
You're either running, walking, or standing.
Absolutely.
you're running the whole time, you're going to get beat down pretty.
What kind of shape is that rink in? Do they play roller on that rink as well, or is it only used for deck?
Only generally for deck, from what I've seen, just because of the trees that overhang. I find there's too much little twigs and acorns and stuff that if you're a rollerblade player, you're going to have to broom that place or leaf blow that place out really good. Otherwise, your wheel's going to hit one of those things. You're going to be crashing. So we find that there's other places that are a little bit smoother, a little more, conducive to the roller league, and this rink sort of sticks just to deck from any time I've ever seen it. There's a bike polo group that plays there. If anyone's into bike polo, completely different topic.
Right.
I didn't know that was a sport.
Yeah, no one did until they had to cancel scrimmage one time for it.
Yeah, I didn't know about it either.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's a thing.
I was like, what do you mean that this goes on down here? I thought we only played hockey down here. No, we play bike polo. I'm like, okay.
You learn something new every day. But yeah, Jason, speaking of roster and depending on how many people show up or not, do you guys usually play with line changes or just depending on?
Yeah. I mean, basically, so the ideal thing is you want to have, proper hockey division number of people. So, like, if you have 10, you're in great shape. Then you got 2 sets of defensemen, 2 sets of forwards, and you're changing on the fly. And it's back and forth, and it's done, NHL style. Dump it in, get off, get on, whatever, and all that kind of stuff. So, either that, or if you have like an odd number of guys, a lot of times it's just kind of like cycle guys in, or you'll play 2 centers, 3 sets of wing, or 5 defensemen, and it's just a matter of. I find everybody wants to play a lot, but after the first period, everyone needs their rest. So, again, that whole thing with not being 20 anymore. So.
Do you guys play? Sorry, James. Do you guys play running time, or do you have stoppages?
Rob was usually running.
Generally running time. They will have stoppage time.
The end of the game
in the third period.
Okay.
With the final, I think, 2 or 3 minutes. If it's within 3 goals.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And then they'll make adjustments too if need be. Like if we're on time constraints, for weather.
Sure.
Or we have some sort of issue where we're running a little bit. We started the game a little bit late, but they want to give us the full time. They just may say, "Well, we're not going to do stoppage time.
All right.
Clock running."
So, thank you.
That was another thing that Gary and I appreciated too when we joined the Rose Charities was that most of the MOFO players there. This is the first time we met these people, and the ice time was everybody had an equal amount of quote unquote ice time or deck time, whatever you want to refer to it as. So that's really cool and reflective on your guys as well that you had that down. I mean, nobody was hogging too much time or making sure that guy wasn't on the bench too long or whatever the case is. So again, for anybody out there interested in joining, it's really great league made up of really good people and definitely worth your while to at least look into. But for another question, basically, how long is each playing season? Like how many games are scheduled for each team to play? And is there a season for each weather season, like a fall, winter, spring, summer, or is it like just a fall and a summer league?
One of the things the league's been really good at is trying to adjust things as we go along and as we grow and we develop, and listening to feedback from the players and some of our suggestions. We have had 10-game seasons, so 10 regular season games plus single elimination playoff round, and we've tried in the past to do a spring, sort of summer, fall, and then like a winter season. But one of the problems is we have during the winter is the snow,
right? And
relying on the city to clean the rink out, and that's the last priority. They're trying to clear the roads out.
Sure.
And the Parks Department is on light staff duty anyway because it's off season, and we were encountering too many weeks and months of not playing because the rink got snowed in.
Yeah.
So the winter season got kind of screwy, and you'd play 2 games in December and then not play any games for 2 months. And the delay threw off the start of our spring season. So this past year we said, well, why keep doing that? Why don't we just do a long 20-game season, single elimination playoffs? And now we're not going to do a winter season.
Okay.
With the idea, too, that it gives us as teams that are looking to recruit new players, and as a league looking to develop a new team, time during the winter to say, hey, let's have some scrimmages, let's try try out some new players. Let's just have some fun. Like we're talking with the league manager, Hector, now about having the other team that lost in the last round play against us for like a sort of a third place game.
Right.
So it's sort of like an extra little playoff game, but we're just doing it ourselves.
Sure.
Because we have, a weekend where a bunch of us say, I think we're around, let's just do this. And
That's great.
we'll pay the refs, split the ref costs and have a regular game that would probably have some playoff intensity to it. And it's just a random game that we just decided to do ourselves. And I think we're going to do that the rest of this winter.
Oh, nice.
Whether it be just, checking with Hector and him setting up some scrimmages and a bunch of us coming down to meet some new players. And also just having casual games amongst ourselves. Maybe, we might play an A division team or play one of our B division rivals just for the sake of, hey, we haven't played you guys in a couple months. We miss you. Let's get back out there and have a game and then go have some beers.
Like a friendly,
Excellent.
as they say in soccer.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So rather than try and force the issue of having league games where we have to pay the league fees and then have it sort of be a stop-start.
Although I will say, as a goalie, I feel like winter, I kind of get the short end of the stick because winter is the only time of year when I actually feel comfortable in all that gear. Like, I feel like I actually have a little bit of a leg up on everybody else because I'm finally, like, not dying, drowning in a pool of my own sweat. So the fact that winter games tend to get curtailed is like, drat, kind of a...
No one is as sensitive to climate change as the goaltender in a hockey league is.
Right.
Outdoor hockey league.
And it's hot when the goalie's out there with just his chest protector on and no jersey, no shirt. He's going gear only.
Yeah.
Like, then it's hot.
Yeah, we definitely have a special place in our hearts for the goalies out there because Gary's never scrimped no matter what. And the funny thing where we usually play is one side of the rink, there's nothing but sun, and then the other side is nice and shady.
Yeah.
And for some reason or another, Gary's like the ultimate player, and he always goes on the sun. And
it's just my end of the ice.
Yeah. So we feel you guys. And that's the problem with Mother Nature. Sometimes she doesn't cooperate with our deck hockey needs, but what are you going to do?
All right, gentlemen, I hate to cut you off, but we're running a little long on this one. So if you don't mind, we'd love to have you back for the next show. And in the meantime, we're going to continue with the Hit the Deck podcast, number 35, with a little topic that's coming up quicker than you think. It's just a week away. It's become something of a holiday in its own right. It is, of course, Black Friday.
Yeah, and something exactly that it's really gotten out of hand over the last few years. So Gary and I want to make sure that you spend Black Friday in a good manner and a nice, safe, comfortable manner as well. So I don't know. I mean, Gary and I think you've known us over the last few podcasts since we've done Hit the Deck, is that we're family-oriented people. Gary has a wonderful wife and a beautiful daughter and comes from a great family. And I dare say I come from a wonderful family as well. So we all love each other. Yeah, and maybe I don't reflect that, but whatever. We do love each other and we care
Not
about
at all.
each other.
Not at all, James.
So that's what this is all about. And Gary and I will do a special Thanksgiving podcast, which Gary will upload next week for everybody out there. But for now, at the recording of this podcast, we are going to talk about Black Friday. So one of the things you can do is if you're going to shop, then you could go shop online instead. It's really convenient. Amazon does a great job, and so do other corporations with online shopping, and they have deals and things like that as well. But don't forget to frequent the small businesses of your communities for the rest of your Christmas shopping. These hardworking business owners help keep our neighborhoods together, and we do need them, so that's important to keep them in business. And plus, it's still fun to go outside, enjoy the Christmas decorations, do some shopping, maybe grab some lunch or dinner with your family and friends. So that's a little option you could go with as opposed to waiting online on Thanksgiving the day or the night and then risking your life of getting trampled or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the listener, but for me, Thanksgiving is always the official start of the Christmas season. I refuse to listen to Christmas music. I get annoyed at Christmas commercials on the television. I want to hear nothing of Christmas. It's my favorite holiday, my favorite time of the year, far and away, and I don't want to hear a peep about it until Santa comes at the end of the Thanksgiving parade.
You are much more disciplined than I am.
Because that's when the Christmas season starts.
You're right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it was pushed to where it was, the fourth Thursday of November, to kick off the official celebration of Christmas time. So I admire your discipline, but for me, time flies so quickly, and some years are harder than others. So I kind of cheat, and I need a little Christmas a little bit
right this
early,
very minute.
Exactly.
Here's, speaking of Christmas, how do the Canadians do it? How do they, what's their arbitrary line of demarcation? Because Canadian Thanksgiving is in early October.
Yeah, and I think the day after Christmas is Boxing Day or something. So to me,
I know that's in England. Do they? I guess they probably observe that in Canada as well, since it's part of the UK. Or no, not part of the UK, but part of, I don't know.
It's some kind of French connection somewhere, but to me, December the 26th is by far the most depressing day of the whole year. Yeah. So it's like a dark day for me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, again, you're right. I mean, technically, that's right. Santa Claus comes at the end of the Thanksgiving Day parade and kicks it off officially. So that's what I love when Thanksgiving is early, just for that reason. Yeah. So we get the full-fledged month at least of Christmas celebrating. So I admire your discipline, but I can't.
Every year, Jen gives me, my wife, gives me such a look when at the end of the parade I squeal like a child when Santa comes and bounce around giddily that it's finally Christmas season.
Hey man, that's part of the fun. That's one of the benefits of Christmas is you're always get that inner child out and let the excitement out and believe and have fun and just be innocent for a little while and enjoy the best time of year. So, yeah. But getting back to the whole Black Friday thing, the day after Thanksgiving, and it's called Black Friday obviously because businesses, instead of going in the red, which is bad, they go into the black, which is a profit. So that's what the definition is supposed to mean.
Well, traditionally, I don't know how true that is anymore, but
that
is where it comes from.
Should call it Black and Blue Friday or whatever the case is, or I don't know. But
my wife is now indicating that I'm a lunatic.
Well, that makes the both of us. So, welcome to the club. For you hockey fans out there, yes. November 25th, there are 11 NHL games scheduled that day, starting with the Rangers versus the Flyers on NBC at 1 p.m. Eastern. So, definitely. You can still shop online and watch hockey all day and night, literally. Yes. For the tri-state area, New York tri-state area fans out there, the New York Islanders will be in San Jose at 4 o'clock, and the Devils will host the Red Wings at 7:30. So you have a full plate of leftover turkey and hockey to watch, as opposed to killing yourself for some inferior product.
Yeah, honestly, by the time the hockey starts, all the good deals will be long gone anyway. So it's, what's even the point?
Excellent. Another option you can do to celebrate 11/25 is decorate your homes for Christmas. As Gary says, the official kickoff of Christmas is when you see Santa go by on the Thanksgiving Day parade. So the day after. Get the Thanksgiving decorations down and replace them with the Christmas ones.
I try to get my countdown clock out on Black Friday. I don't always succeed, but I do my best to do that.
And you do an excellent job as well.
Oh, thank you.
I could definitely vouch for that. Another final option for celebrating Black Friday in a fun, good, healthy manner. Listen to this very podcast because Gary usually uploads our podcast on a Friday. Next week, with Thanksgiving being on Thursday, obviously, we'll probably upload it a day or two early, but we'll keep you all informed on that with our Facebook and Twitter feed. So definitely we won't throw you a curveball there or be offsides, as it will, for a hockey term. And we'll keep you posted on that.
And in addition to our special Thanksgiving scrimmage next week, we're also going to be having a Thanksgiving marathon of all the Hit the Deck episodes. By which, I mean, if you want to listen to all the Hit the Deck episodes, you can feel free to marathon them.
Absolutely.
Just
That's
by
a great idea.
downloading them and listening to them one after the other, because you have nothing better to do.
Well, if you're whatever, if you got it on in the background, that's a great way to entertain yourself and keep your mind busy, and as you're decorating for the Christmas season or whatever.
Or if
you
you're
don't wanna listen to
online for
Christmas-
Black Friday.
There you go.
So keep you
Or
busy.
if you're holding out for Hanukkah, whatever, do what you got to do.
Hanukkah is late this year. It's like December 23rd or 24th or something that it starts.
Yes, it's. I don't know how that works. I think it has something to do with the moons or something like that.
It doesn't
but
end
I
until
should-
the new year.
Yeah, I apologize for my ignorance on that part, but it
Oy
is
vey.
late. It pretty much coincides with Christmas this year.
Yeah.
So. But we're all brothers and sisters, so hopefully we could all just enjoy and have fun and be one big happy family.
Shalom.
Amen to that. And then finally, for what you could do on Black Friday in a good, great manner, and for the whole weekend actually, is play deck hockey.
Yes.
You can't go wrong playing deck hockey.
You can never go wrong playing deck hockey.
No way. So from there, as we said, this is Hit the Deck number 35, a very special episode, and that just so happens to be the American Rhinos number.
You don't say.
Yeah, and if speaking of listening to all of the previous Hit the Decks, last edition we talked about our favorite numbers and why they are our favorite numbers. So
Yes.
35 came up, and Mr. Mike Richter and Mr. McComiskey are my two favorite goalies of all time, or among my two favorite goalies of all time, and they share that beautiful number. And we couldn't let this podcast go without acknowledging the American Rhino. And
You really could have, though.
well, that wouldn't have been right. I mean, you got away with the birthday thing. When it was your birthday, I think you were on the road or something like that, so we had to cut that out. So now we're going to make up for that. And I encourage everybody out there, too, in Hit the Deck world to bestow Mr. American Rhino with your love and affection as well on Facebook and Twitter. And
Not
we
necessary at
definitely
all.
Appreciate that. But just really, Gary's a great guy, an excellent goaltender, just really never give up attitude, comes through in every game, no matter what. If we're down or if we're up or if we're dying, he's in there and you can count on him no matter what. So that we appreciate that so much in the deck hockey part. For the broadcasting part, he's an excellent broadcaster, as you know, an editor and producer. He's way too humble. He won't admit that, but he is the sole reason why there is a Hit the Deck podcast. So
Also not true.
From recording it, you can't deny that. You record it. You edit it. You can't deny that. And you upload it. So not to mention you set up the Facebook and Twitter pages, Instagram as well, and YouTube. So those are time-consuming and detail-oriented, and thank you for doing all of those things for us.
And again,
hopefully-
if it wasn't for you, there would be nothing to talk about on the podcast.
Well, it's good to have a function, at least to participate in one little minor way. But the bread and butter and the meat of it and whatever other term I could come up with to emphasize that if it's Gary's the engine, let's just say that, okay? So without you, there would be no podcast at all. So thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the Mac, he's a creative genius. I've had the pleasure of knowing Gary and being his friend since our college days, and have just marveled at his many, many broadcast and acting skills that he has. If you've seen him act, it's and he's a real person. I could vouch for that too.
Yeah.
Unlike the commercials say that these are actors and not real people, Gary is a very much real person and an excellent actor and talented one at that, and broadcaster too, which I'm sure you hear every podcast and everything else that he's done.
Oh yeah, I'm Mr. Professional. I'm Robert Frick or whatever the.
Hey, right. For baseball, there's the Ford C. Frick Award for the greatest broadcaster in the game. So we should definitely, like for the Golden Rhino Head, we should do our own American Rhino Award for best podcaster out there. So Gary definitely wins that hands down. And as we said before, I mean, this very podcast is all thanks to the American Rhino. So thank you. And just to sum it up, Mr. Gary Maxer, if I dare may say, he's the best son, brother, husband, father, cousin, coworker, teammate and friend any one of us could hope to be so blessed to have. So thank you, sir, and we love you, and this episode 35 hopefully is for you.
You have firsthand knowledge of very few of those things, so I protest.
Fair enough. Speaking of which, let's debut a new segment called The Box, featuring none other than the American Rhino, Mr. Gary Mack.
Yeah, because you guys haven't heard enough of me on this podcast already. But, yes, so we might as well step into the box. As James implied, or outright said, really, this is a new segment. And in this particular segment, I am going to pretty much rant about something. So, whereas at the beginning of the podcast, I implored that we all be unified and you know, all that hippy-dippy, peace, love, and hugs mumbo-jumbo. Now I'm going to tear you a new one. Hopefully not you specifically, just a particular subset of people. And I think this is actually an appropriate topic given that the Thanksgiving Day Parade is going to be next Thursday, and there will be a lot of people commuting in and out of Manhattan. And if you happen to be one of them, maybe you'll bear this in mind, because the topic of today's box is the subway. Yes, I take the subway, the Metropolitan Transit Authority, every single day to and from work. I also take the bus, but the bus can be a topic for a different day. No, today is about subway etiquette, because I have a few opinions on the subway, and if you ride the subway, you probably have some opinions too. And if you'd like to start your own podcast and talk about it, I'll listen to it. But for now, let's just do it this way, yeah? Okay, carrying on. First of all, if you're on the subway, let's start before you even get on the train. Let's start on the platform. Train pulls into the station. Now, what you should do is just stand back and let everyone who's trying to get off the train get off the train. It's a novel concept. It creates room on the train for people to get on, and it's also the right thing to do. Have you never been on an elevator? This is what you do. You let people get off, and then you get on. And when you're getting on, don't run up and jump in front of the people who have been waiting a respectable distance away from the doors to let people off. Just wait your turn. Just wait your freaking turn. And then, when you do get on, don't just step in the doors and stop. Those doors are not your personal leaning space. People have to get on and off the train. If there's room to go in, go in. The only people who should be leaning against those doors are the people who are squashed against them like sardines. Otherwise, get your butt in the train. And don't be the guy who takes the seat that the pregnant lady or the elderly guy or the person who really needs the seat. Don't be that person. Look, I get that we all get tired and we all want a seat, but we can't all have a seat. And there are some of us who need the seats more than others. So just don't be that guy. Don't you listen to this podcast? Don't be that guy. Come on, you're better than that. I know you're better than that. You listen to this podcast. Obviously, you have good taste. Don't be that guy. And if you do happen to be fortunate enough to get a seat that is not taking it away from someone who needs it more, the term that's popular now is manspreading, when you just kind of spread your legs as wide as you can, I don't know, to show everybody how dominant you are. I don't know, don't spread out. You're not in your living room, okay? You're not in your living room. Hunch yourself up so that as many people have room on that bench as can be fit. You're not going to be comfortable. You know who else isn't comfortable? The 100 or so other people that are on that train. So just close your legs as much as you can. Don't spread your elbows all the way out. Don't lean halfway. Pick up your bag if your bag's on the thing. I'm about to pop, so I'm just going to wind down with one more thing. Above all, I cannot stress this enough, okay? You know what time it isn't on the subway? It's not party time, okay? It's not time for a show. It's not time for your mariachi band. It's time for everybody to just stand there in dour silence and endure the ride until you get where you're going. The subway is not the place where you should be making your money, okay? I recognize there are people that are less fortunate. In fact, I have donated to some of those people on the subway, even though that's technically illegal. But, you know, I have my own code of ethics, and sometimes I just can't bring myself to not help these people. That's fine. I understand that. And if you genuinely need help and you ask heartfelt, please, I need anything you can give me, food, you know, or you know, a drink, or even just, you know, a friendly word. Those people, my heart goes out to those people. I don't mind so much giving to those people. If you're going to come on the train and I can't hear my own headphones because you're playing your horn or you're blasting your boombox, dancing around the poles, you're not getting a penny from me. All right? All right. So I think we're all on the same page here. I'm going to get down out of the box. And I'm just going to calm myself down a little bit. Thanks for listening.
Last minute remaining in the podcast.
Okay, if you're still tolerating me after all that, we're going to wrap up the podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of it. If you don't happen to listen to the scrimmage next week, I wish you a very happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving. Bless you for listening. We would like to extend a warm thanks to Rob and Jason for being on the show today, and we look forward to seeing them again for the next Hit the Deck. Of course, thank you to Bro Anthony Sajazi. Thank you to Pops for being the voice of the podcast, the LIQ for providing sound effects. Please feel free to check us out on Stitcher or iTunes. Subscribe if you're so inclined. You'll make sure to get this podcast fed to you every single week. If you want to complain about the box or about my political pleas, or really if there's anything that you feel the need to say to us, please, we encourage you to email us at hitthedeck@gmail.com or tweet at us at hitthedeckpod. Come to our Facebook page. Hit us up on Instagram. Send us smoke signals. Whatever. We want to hear from you because we really do appreciate you. James, what is left to say without alienating any more of our listeners?
Nah, man, you were all over it just like a goalie should be. And for the record, I agree with you 1,000,000% about the MTA, or at least subway etiquette. As a Brooklynite growing up my whole life in this city and having to commute when I'm employed to the Manhattan borough, it's a grind. So please listen to Mr. Gary Maxer. He knows what he's talking about, and it's common sense and just a few things to do that would make everybody's lives a little bit easier. So thank you for that. And again, yes, if you don't listen to our scrimmage next week, very happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, James. And just really, I don't direct this at Rob or Jason because they seem to be stand-up dudes, and I hope I don't have to direct this to you because, you know what, I have faith. I am an optimist. I have faith in you and in our country and just generally in people, because while we are prone to be there are people who at times display the worst in humanity. I feel like the majority of people have the best of humanity in them. But if you are one of those sorry few, those ne'er-do-wells who just feel like they need to, be selfish, or they just need to make everything about them, I think it's my civic duty to remind you it's deck hockey. Don't be that guy. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Congratulations. Excellent job, my friend.
Now I don't want to talk to you for a week.
Fair enough.